What's going on, Internet, and welcome to another ARFCOM review. This is a slightly different take on this. We're having, I guess, a discussion. It's the best way I could describe this. We're going to be talking about how to get your wife or girlfriend or whatever your significant other is to carry a firearm. Here specifically, I do have a really cool panel of ladies that are considerably better looking than I am, so I will spend most of my time shutting up and letting them talk. But I will introduce the panel and talk about some questions directly from the forums. We will be answering questions from the forums, so those of you guys that watched it will get to hear from it, but that will be right after a quick word from our sponsors.
Do you like seeing the boogeyman hanging out with cryptids rolling dice in your front yard? I know I do. If you want to see all the crazy things happening right outside your house, check out TNVC.com.
So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the panel. As I am not a woman, I cannot speak on behalf of what would motivate me to carry a gun. I'm going to introduce you guys one at a time. Bonnie, why don't you go tell them who you are, what you do, and why I guess you're here on the panel. What's your adjacent to firearms?
Yeah, so my name is Bonnie Lanzarini. And Lanzarini, yeah. And Bonbons and Guns on Instagram. And what got me into firearms is a bad experience with my ex marriage. So
that'll do it.
Yeah. So kind of the divorce, and then I just wanted a way to protect myself. That's why I started carrying, and I started training. So that's how I got into firearms and into training so much.
And you shoot. It's pretty cool. If you look up, you just go look at it. Maybe we'll insert the handle here. Just like look up Bonbons and Guns, and you can go watch her get thrown in the dirt and shoot guns and run way more than clearly I do. So she takes a pretty holistic approach. You do shoot more than most. And so I thank you for coming on the panel for me real quick.
Thanks for having me.
And then who do we have here, Miss Chelsea? Go ahead and introduce yourself to the group here.
I am Chelsea. I am the marketing manager for 80% Arms. I really got into firearms while working in the firearm industry. I didn't have much knowledge or experience prior, but as I was brought in just in customer service is where I started. I got to talk to a lot of our customers and my coworkers, and they started introducing me to all these different platforms, and they're concealed carries as well. And similar to Bonnie, I had some pretty bad experiences with my dating life. And I finally was you pulled the trigger and, found that this was the best option to protect myself. This is, I hope, during this discussion to inspire other women to get involved and to also, carry. And it's the best option, in my opinion, for safety.
Pull the trigger. We're going to add that to the tally of 1 on dad jokes today. So we're crushing it today. We also have Jerah, who's been here before, but go ahead and introduce yourself to the internet.
Hello, I'm Jerah Hutchins. You can find me on the socials at Clearing the Chamber. A little bit different. I grew up around guns. So I was a competition shooter. I started shooting when I was 11. But in my early 20s, I had a stalker, so that seems to be a theme here that we've all kind of had bad experiences with bad men. And so that's when I kind of moved out of the realm of competition shooting and more into the realm of self-defense shooting, which they are different if you're not aware. So knowing how to shoot a gun is not enough. You really have to know how to tactically shoot one if you're going to protect yourself. So that's the when and that's the why.
Very cool. They have very different. Nobody stalked me or whatever. I've had negative encounters with exes. I can at least agree on that. I have had that before. But fortunately, it is a little different. And we can talk about force disparity and things of that nature. We'll see if we get into that here. But I thought it was really cool. I think a lot of y'all, there's an inciting incident, I guess, and we'll kind of talk about some of these questions that I got from the forums here in a second. But I think everyone had, mine was more, I didn't grow up with firearms like you did. I didn't have any stalking or anything crazy like y'all did. But for me, it was being looked at to protect. I had a girlfriend in college when I was dating, and my very first apartment, and I was poor like everybody should be in college. I had right across the liquor store was my apartment, and my neighbors were probably prostitutes. I didn't know, and I didn't ask, right? But when I was there, someone tried to follow my girlfriend into the apartment, and me being the young, dumb person that I was like, I'm going to go protect my woman, right? So I show up not knowing what I'm walking into, and there's 4 dudes hanging outside of my apartment looking at the door, then looking at me. And as I'm getting out of my apartment and it's dawning on me that I'm about to try to fist fight 4 grown-ass men that could likely be gangbangers. Oh my God. Literally, shout out to whoever this was. You probably don't know who you were. Denton PD, kid you not, like total Jesus moment. Like rolled up, just driving by. It wasn't trying to stop anybody. As he's driving by, they look at the cop, they look at me, they look at the door, they just get in the car and drive off.
Nice.
As they're driving off, I'm standing there like, the only reason they were nervous about him is because he had a gun, and they were not worried about me. So I go up to my apartment, but it dawned on me that I was like, I was useless.
Well, I think we just made our first major point, and I hope that this discussion, like she said, inspires women to be more proactive versus reactive, because most women, I mean, men love this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is wired into you, but women typically get into guns out of necessity because something bad happened to them.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we will inspire women to do it before.
Yeah. I think, and I had, after all this stuff, and I get a gun and I do all this stuff, I was an idiot and became a cop. But that was oftentimes, and I saw this cycle all the time, where you'd have people that are naive, or they're going into a situation they don't realize, or you just can't know. You don't get to know the future on a lot of stuff, but that it was, victimization caused a ton of stuff. As far as a change of perspective, it changes how you look at people. It changes what is the degree of safety do you require. It causes trust issues, so on and so forth. But I'd like to hear, and we'll ask the class here, what do you think is the biggest, I guess, barrier that you normally have for guns? Like if you looked at the industry right now, if you didn't know anything about guns, if you just Googled chicks carrying guns, what do you think is the barrier that's not currently there that would prevent you from carrying guns or being interested in getting into it? It's different because y'all are biased because y'all all already do it.
Oh, I mean, I know.
Okay, we'll start with you.
I think that it's the media vilification and the political vilification of firearms. Women are very sensitive to that. Mothers
I could see that.
are very sensitive to that, and it does sway the thought process, because when you do that, when mainstream media and politicians vilify the Second Amendment and vilify guns, they are influencing and persuading women, and they're making women think this is hard. This is a hard thing to master. It's a hard thing to do, and we are here to tell you it's not. It's actually a quite easy thing to learn. And we've all been doing it for quite a while now. I mean, even her, she's only 26. And so I think that is probably the foundational problem that we have.
So
100%
fear mongering.
Yeah, vilification of firearms carrying. Anything else?
Yeah, well, talking to a lot of young women too, they're scared of carrying it. They're scared of the actual firearm. They're scared of the gun. So they don't want to carry it because they don't know how to handle it. That's where we need to kind of go. We need to get through that, because they're afraid of it when they need to, and they let that take over.
I could see that.
So they need to get to the point where they're not afraid of it anymore, and the situation completely changes then.
Agreed. Sorry.
No, you're good. Get the mic a little closer to you.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, so I 100% agree with you. And this it also goes in hand with the media, of course, vilifying the Second Amendment and firearms as a whole. You think back in the day, kids used to receive BB guns as gifts. And at Walmart recently, I think it was Walmart, some major chain store basically said, we're done carrying BB guns. We are no longer going to be, stocking anything that resembles or like a firearm. And of course, previous generations, kids were exposed to firearms at a younger age. They were comfortable with them. And you don't meet many people who are introducing their kids to firearms. I grew up in California, and
Womp, womp, womp.
I've been major womp womp, huge womp womp.
I lived there for 10 years.
There you go. Womp, 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 womp.
Womp womp. But it's like I didn't have any friends that were into firearms. And when I took my job or my position in the firearm industry, I ended up losing some friends. But I learned I had to be okay with that, because my rights don't end where your uncertainty and your uncomfortableness begins. I'm sorry, this is something that 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 I thoroughly enjoy.
I think probably as far as marketing is concerned, I'm in marketing. I'm sorry, internet. That's my job. But that there are certain states that won't allow you to market, whether it is to make it more approachable. Because like I grew up with like G.I. Joe, or you had like cowboys and stuff like that, where firearms were very prevalent in what you would consider boys' toys, right? There was never like gun-toting Barbie. There was never, and again, even we talked about this with Hollywood depictions and things of that nature. Almost all of the guys I like idolized growing up, a lot of these, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger and a lot of these guys where they had guns in these. He's jacked and could totally just do it with his bare hands. But he still had firearms. I was like, that's what I want. There was no real vehicle for that. Even to this day, we don't see a lot of times where women are demonstrated as both capable and able to do it. And I understand it to a certain degree because you have some firearms people in the industry that are trying not to get sued. There are states that will sue you.
Well, or it's blown completely out of proportion of reality. I mean, we're not Tomb Raider here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
nor do you have to
There's
be.
no realistic depictions of women in nuclear families, mothers.
Yeah.
That are capable with a firearm and able to protect themselves and their children.
And I also think a lot of women, little girls and women, kind of grow up thinking that the man is going to protect them.
Yeah.
So they leave that to the man, and it's kind of they don't really take it upon themselves to protect themselves unless something happens.
I'm gonna push back on that. I disagree a little bit. I think that there was a time when women grew up that way. Depending on men to protect them. But I think that now, and I'm not really sure what epoch of time this happened in. Maybe it was when feminism started to become toxic. But I think that now women are pushing away that protection, but they're not giving themselves a second option. The only option that they're giving themselves is, well, we need to teach men not to rape. And we need to teach men not to do this, that, and the other. And you can fight that battle all day, and we always have to try. But the truth is, you are never going to eliminate rape. You are never going to eliminate domestic violence. It is always going to be here in some way, shape, or form because we live in a sinful world. Yep. And so if you're going to push away that protection, then what other option are you giving yourself that's actually going to be realistic and work? Yeah. You know?
The analogy I used to give is if you're paying for police officers, why are locks on your doors legal? Right? Like, well, technically I should be able to walk in your house whenever I want unless you're doing something wrong. And it's people treat fire. That sounds ridiculous if somebody doesn't understand like where we're coming from, but that is what firearms for women truly is. It's like, oh, no, we have police. Or you have potentially a boyfriend or a locked door. You have something that should be a barrier between you and that. I don't want to leave the onus of your responsibility just up to you. I don't trust you, the individual, to protect yourself. And so you don't need that device. You don't need that training. You just need to trust that the system's going to work. And whatever victimization happens to you, we'll try to address it on the suspect side or the perpetrator side. I'm sorry, I'll give you counseling or something like that on the back end. There's no real surety there.
But, to her point, that's a big argument that has been happening for decades and decades is the husband is the protector and the provider, and the wife is the nurturer and supporter. Yeah. And I want to make sure that we understand that there is nothing wrong with trusting your man to protect you. Sure. Okay, you chose him for a reason, but you need to make sure that you chose the right protector and provider. And I want to stay on this for a second because it's really important, because this union of men and women getting married, this nuclear family situation, it has always been meant to be teamwork. Yeah. And so when men say things like, I want a submissive wife, or when women say, I'm a traditionalist and I want to be a traditional wife, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I want to make sure that you understand, for women, that there's a responsibility there. And so this word submission, I think it has a negative connotation. And I think it's because people don't realize that the word submission has several definitions. Yeah. And so the first definition of submission is to consent to a certain treatment. Yeah. Okay. So you have to choose somebody wisely, and you have to, if you're going to find a husband, if you're doing a traditional family, you want to find somebody that has wisdom and discernment and who's kind and loving, but who has the masculinity to be able to protect and provide for you, right? Now, if you find that person, we move to the second definition of submission, which is to acquiesce to a higher authority, right? So if you found that person that has all the qualities that I just mentioned, why wouldn't you want them to lead your family? That's what a real man should do, okay? So the first two definitions, if you found the right person, you shouldn't have an issue with that at all. Now, the third definition is, humans err. That's what we're meant to do, okay? So even though your man has all these great qualities, he's probably still going to make a mistake or two along the line. So the third definition of submission is to present a proposal. So if you think that your husband or the man in your life is not making the right decision, you get to submit a proposal and say, hey, I don't think this is the right choice for our family. I'd like to maybe do it this way. And if he has all these qualities that I mentioned, he's going to hear you. Now, here's the last thing.
This is it. We're here for it.
She's on fire.
This is really, really important. The last part of this is you have to ask yourself the question, as a woman in a traditional relationship where my man is the protector and provider, is he with me 24/7? And we all at this table know that the answer is no. If you're honest with yourself at home and you're watching this right now, you know the answer is no. So here's the deal. When your man, the protector and provider, is elsewhere from you, for whatever reason it is and however long the amount of time is, now, especially if you're a mother, now you have to step into the role of protector, and that is your submission.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, you have to do that. So if you're a mom, and even if you're just a woman, you haven't had kids yet, but you have to protect yourself because you have to be a good partner in your marriage. This is being a good partner in your marriage. This isn't just about, whether I like guns or not or whatever. When you become a mom, and you know this, you are obligated to be able to physically protect your children. So I can't stress the importance of this. Women need to understand the word submission does not have a negative connotation. That is what it is about, and you have to step up to the plate.
Agreed.
I do like this discussion because it's a perfect segue. Shout out to the forums here. Mr. RTX himself posted an interesting question. I'll give you guys a synopsis. Where basically, let's say you have submitted, you found a wonderful man, and he's super crushing it or whatever, but you are trying to take the onus of the responsibility of your protection in your own hands because you're like, I'm a grown-ass woman. I need to be able to back you up. And let's say you get smoked. I'm the next line of defense, right? Like, you're going to retreat to my position, and that position better be sound. The irony of that, and I've seen this almost universally accepted, is that man is not the best teacher for you. For some odd reason, if you're legitimately, and this is the way I see it, I've been happily married for about 7 years now. And one of the things that I learned is I look at it more like a partnership and less like, so that there are things that I specifically go out of my way to not be good at. I said, she has that handled. This is a way for me to value her input into my life, right? And part of that was realizing, though I'm a firearms person, right, and I do all the firearms things, I sat there and said, I'm going to let somebody else teach you. Because it's going to be frustrating at times. It's also going to be that you're trying to develop that skill so you can add it to my skill base. Because you might be better at something than I might be, right? Or whatever it is. Your needs are also crazy. Every single gun I already owned that I went to go hand to her for her to try, she's like, in what universe is this remotely ergonomic or desirable or capable? Mm-hmm. What would y'all say collectively? And I'll start with you. Let's say you find said guy, and kind of especially coming from your background, that you're already there, right? You're like, I do competition. I do the running and the gunning and whatever. What would you say to somebody, like, let's say your friend, right, is like, well, I really want to go shooting. Would you suggest her husband teach her?
No.
Why? Give me the why, and then I'll give a chance for all of you guys to answer this. I'm fascinated at this question.
Well, I think it all depends on mentality too, but all the instructors that I've had so far, they're all like, they bring their husbands or the boyfriends, bring their wife or girlfriend to learn, but then they want to jump in and teach them a certain way because that's their way. That's their way of shooting, but it doesn't necessarily mean it applies to the woman. But usually that doesn't work out well, and they don't get to learn very well. And the instructor many times go, hey, stand back, let me teach her, and the woman ends up learning better at shooting than the husband or the boyfriend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as to the why, it's also why do children prefer to listen to someone who's not their parents? I mean, even growing up, it's like many times we don't really listen to our parents when they're trying to teach us something. Maybe we are more perceptive to it from a third party. So, and I think that also applies to husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. Sometimes a third party has more of a, I don't know, input into like our learning, like teachers versus parents.
Maybe you feel
or-
more beholden to like an instructor because like you don't
does
have
an
that grace
instructor-
of like, you love me and will love me no matter how well I do here, versus an instructor is just gonna be disappointed in me no matter what. I don't want to embarrass myself in front of the stranger. That could be part of it, I guess.
I mean, there's a lot of psychology behind this, which
Yeah.
I don't really know, but I just see this happening a lot with all these, close relationships when you're trying to teach something.
Yep.
And but I've seen that a lot in learning, and it's, I don't know, having an instructor figure who's there to teach, especially if you know the differences about how women learn or how women shoot versus a man.
Yeah.
Because I think many times husbands or boyfriends want to teach them their way.
Yep.
That's the only way. That's the way you should do it, but it doesn't really work and apply to them.
Yeah. What about you? What do you think, Chelsea?
I have to agree with Bonnie, honestly. I think that, shooting for me at least is like, it's kind of a weird analogy, but it's kind of like trying to pick out a car in a way, because there's so many
Interesting.
different options on the market.
Yeah.
And then, there's so many other people have so many different opinions, and they want to show you like, this one's better because, this, like, this is better because of this. So when I was getting into concealed carrying, it was, oh, you should carry on your hip. You should carry, at, 3 o'clock position and so on. And ultimately, like, I, ended up just like, after hearing so many third party, input and like everybody's opinions, like I learned so much from that. And it like, I carry my own way now. Like I'm okay with cross drawing.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, sue me. I don't care.
Cross draw. That's
Cross
metal.
draw.
That is the hipster carry of carries.
I want to see that.
I was about to say, we're about to do dry fire draws here off camera. I'm like, I need to see this.
Sue me. I'm a,
No, but I will say this. I do think that, and this is kind of a point where we're going to get to eventually, is that I do think it's an individual journey.
It is 100%. And part of that individual journey, it's hard to achieve it if you're only, if you only have one outlet feeding you information. It's
Yeah.
something where you're going to need third party opinions. And, if it's I could definitely see the argument that, like some men might be like, well, I want to be the one to show her. I want to be the one, to teach her. Like I should be her resource and so on. And to that, like, I just have to say, like, when you learned, were you like, were you like the only, one person? Sorry, you're going to have to like cut this.
No.
But-
I think it's I would rather have honesty in it. I can't answer this question, right? I did the only way when I read this, the only thing I could think of, I don't choose the way my wife cuts her hair.
Yeah.
But I'm attracted to her and I like being attracted to her. Maybe she did something weird like a mohawk. That might be different. But I'm not going to be the one that cuts it.
Yeah.
Right? So why on earth would I not apply that to something? If I have no basis to understand what it's like to be, a 5 foot, 100-pound person, why should I be making any decisions for you that are only going to affect you on a daily basis?
Yeah.
I don't pick what shoes she wears. I don't pick any of that. I don't pick her snacks.
Yeah.
Like carrying a firearm, and there's also like an emotion. Like we are biased by a lot of things.
Yeah.
I damn near almost picked a gun purely based off of, I like that gun. I'll dry fire it more often. And maybe there's some pride of ownership because I'm an idiot and we're all emotional creatures. But like, there's aspects of it where we have it, but that's still a personal journey. And if you came to that decision and if you had guidance or mentorship from somebody, it'll stick way better. And
Exactly.
I'd rather not bully my wife into doing it, her hate me for it, and then
Yes.
stop doing it in 2 months rather than do the journey yourself. But
Yeah.
you'll have I know you got.
She's ready to
Let's
go.
She's been fired up. She's been like
Yeah, already.
laser balling me with this.
Yeah.
this answer.
No,
Okay.
there's several reasons why this doesn't work. Now, there's always exceptions to every rule. I know several husbands that are really good at teaching their wives.
Same, yeah.
But the main reasons that this doesn't work is, first and foremost, husbands are far too emotionally invested in the outcome
I buy that.
to be patient and kind. They get way too excited about going to the range with their wife and showing her all the cool toys, and they think that she's going to be as into it as they are. And and then when she's not, or she's not picking up grip, stance, sight picture, trigger pull as quickly as they want her to, because they want her to be as safe as possible, as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. That's why a third party 95% of the time needs to be involved. The second reason is because women aren't built the same as men in their hands and in their hips. So where they want to carry is something that they do kind of have to figure out on their own, and they need to be presented options. And an instructor can do that better than just about anyone, because they're not beholden to just what they carry every day. So many men, especially men, and this is the third and really important reason, is a lot of husbands that are trying to teach their women how to shoot have themselves not had any formal training.
I buy that a lot.
Okay.
Yes.
And so they're trying to, but men.
That's what you were saying before.
That's what I was
no,
saying.
babe, thumb over thumb.
Yes. Men can get away with grip mistakes that women can't get away with.
Yeah.
And so they're half-ass learning something that they should whole-ass know.
Yeah.
And so those are the three main reasons. And so you have to have an instructor that's willing to work with your wife and go, here are your options. I need you to try all of these options, and give them homework throughout the week or the month or whatever, and say, do you like this holster with this gun at 3:00, or are you more of an appendix carry person? And a lot of women are so dead set on purse carrying that it is going to take somebody that has a level of patience and not a level of emotional connection to be able to talk them out of that most of the time. There's a time and a place for purse carry, but it's not every day.
I do like that. That is another perfect segue. You're crushing it today on segues.
Thank you.
She's killing it on dad jokes, and you're killing it on segues. There's and shout out to these surnames that are here. Whiskers the cat. Shout out to my boy. He talked a lot about in his comments. I'm not going to read the whole thing. We might post it here. That basically the issue is likely that there's no support for it. So if you look at, and I grew up in a very rich environment where I had people like Garantham, or even before that I had people, there's Magpul magazines, there was training manuals, and all of these are men teaching men how to do man things, right? And so there was this very rich environment where I was valued as a man to carry a gun. Firearms were designed specifically with me in mind. They said, you know what? A 200-pound man would love XYZ. 10 millimeter, I swear to you, was probably made just because some dude didn't like how small 9 was. So, like, you know what I mean? And so, like, when you look at the infrastructure, and I actually ran into this in law enforcement, where a third of my academy class were women. And they sat there and they had to have different instructors come in just for them, because they would get frustrated or they would fail, and they would fail at something because one instructor couldn't figure it out for them, right? But we all had to we were all carrying Glock 17s, every single one of us. It's less complicated because it's outside the waistband and it's for a duty use. But like, without having somebody else it's like not having a left-handed person teach you how to shoot left-handed. It's kind of the same deal where it's like what you said before, those ergonomics issues can't be overcome unless somebody's had to overcome them, right? What do you wish, and I'll start with you again, what do you wish you saw in the industry that would support women, and then what do you think there is that's good there? There's some examples of this, but like, what is not there currently, and what do you think is preventing most women from entering that space absent some content like this? She's like, let me
let's go. Well, I've seen more companies now, for example, I'll start with that because it's the first thing that comes to mind, like Walther, for example, and my friend Michelle, that shoots for them. They came out with a handgun that's more appropriate for grip, women's grip. Yeah. Smaller grip that kind of addresses that issue. Because, I carry a Glock 19, and it takes training, but it may not have been like the best gun to carry at first, because even if I have to reload or do any of those mechanics, I have to break my grip to be able to reach, to reach around, but it takes practice. So it may not have been the perfect at first, and it may throw maybe some women off, but then it just takes practice. And like I said, it's more appropriate for probably bigger grip.
Yeah.
So I've seen more companies come out with Walther, for example, smaller grip to address women's, an issue on the women's side. And, but I spoke with a few women when I was at the 2A event, and one of them said, for example, that has prevented her from entering the carrying journey and training is that she actually went to a class with a male instructor, and I guess he just got frustrated and told her, you should just give that gun to the man in your life.
No.
So that just put her completely off.
do it.
That'll
really
do it.
discouraging.
So
Good
it's not just we spoke about like the husbands and the boyfriends earlier, but then you still have people out there that make comments like that, to women, and it just completely derails them, and they don't want to they're too scared, and she's scared to carry, and she can't get over that. And I think there's a huge gap right there that hasn't been addressed yet of these women that are in that frame of mind where they want to carry, but they don't have the resources available to do it the right way, to get over that fear. So I think that's probably a huge gap that still needs to be addressed today.
And I'll say in general, and I'll move on to the rest of the panel here, and I've seen something very similar to this. I saw this with new shooters in general, and I saw this also with men, that all of the trainers, or a lot of the trainers, come from either paramilitary organizations like law enforcement, or they're coming from the military side where they don't give a shit. The whole, that's their knee-jerk reaction to adversity, is to just pick on you about it, right? Which is fine. I have no issue with that. I grew up with very toxic men, and I'm a toxic person myself. However, when we're looking at, as an advocate, right, and we're all trying to be advocates here for the 2A community, let's say I silo it, and I'm always an asshole all the time, right? And I never really leave the door open for what I consider recruitment material. So I'm looking to get either new shooters into the space, or people that are like, I call them fence sitters. But they're sitting there, they're looking at it, they're really interested in it, but nothing seems appealing. For me, we are heinous to each other here, at the studio, but we all had the vested interest beforehand. You could bully me for the rest of my life about shooting, and it's not going to dissuade me from being in it. But let's say if my wife was always bullying me about something like rom-coms, I'd never watch them. Or if it was something like, hey, be more open about your feelings. Like, I have PTSD from certain things. And if I never had open and inviting situations where it wasn't just always negative, I just wouldn't do stuff I don't like doing. And there's no amount of gym bro motivational speeches that are going to get you over that hump. And if the objective is, I want less victims, we talk about this, the good guy with the gun. I want the good person to be armed so that bad people are more fearful. You can't do that without recruiting new people. And if they don't have the vested interest you do, what the hell are you doing to do that? But it's more along to what you're saying.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of that. And then, from a woman perspective, men usually carry one way and one way only, and that's it.
Yep.
We can do inside the waistband, we can do 3 o'clock, we can do right under here, like I do often. I show I carry up here.
And we have to.
Because we don't want to sacrifice our wardrobe and just to carry one way. So, but
right. Very fashionable.
And it's a journey, and it's a journey, and it took time to go through all the different ways of carrying to find the right ways and still be able to. Yeah.
What are the barriers? What are you not saying?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I think there's a few, because I've been carrying for about, I'd say, 2 years, and then I got into guns, when I got hired. I've been with the company for about 5 years now. So when I remember my first time going shooting, it was so discouraging. It was actually, I went into a, guns shop with my dad, and, he had I think it was a Ruger P89, I know.
That is a rough first time.
It is. It was.
Man.
I'm sorry for a Ruger rep. If you have to watch this, but you should know better. Good. Keep going.
But that was the first gun I had ever shot. And I think I was about 19 or 20 years old at that time. And I'm 26 now, so I had 6 years of growth. But I remember going into that range, and they were we're at the counter, and we're closing up, for the day or ending our little range trip. And the guy at the counter was like, "Oh, you should get her this, a Glock 26. And they kept trying to sell me on this small ass gun. And I was like, no, I don't want that. I have big hands, some alien fingers. I don't know which camera to put it at. So I prefer a full size, grip. And, this guy was so dead set on, no, you're a woman, you're small. Let me tell you what you need. And that kind of turned me off. Not, at a young age. Yeah. Or the revolver. It's always some boomer over a counter.
Or a pink gun or a revolver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nobody said
Springfield,
1911,
like they're
so,
always trying to push something.
Yeah.
No hate to Springfield though, but like they always try to push them on us, and it's the weirdest thing. But I think that was some of the discouragement that I had met. Also, I will say, being like a woman in the industry, I still face some little bit of discouragement, like at events and stuff. I remember going to a gun show and we had our GST9s on the table. And some guy walked up and was like, "Oh, if it's so easy, can she do it?" And I'm like, "I actually built all 6 of these. Like, yes, I can do it." Yeah. But there's just a lot of discouragement, and I think if this could be fixed, like I think having more woman figures, like Bon, what you're doing is great. Like I see you're very active, and you as well, speaking for the behalf of women in the industry. It's
also instructing. Shout out to that.
Yeah, seriously. Like it's tough, and it's even harder to get more just being heard as a woman in the space as well. If people can have more of an open mind. I'm going to say something kind of controversial.
Do it.
Okay, I'm going to say it, but like it's hard to be successful and in a male dominated industry if you are not like exposing yourself.
I completely agree.
Do you mean like from a clothing standpoint?
From a clothing. Yeah, from like a clothing.
Okay. I want to make sure that we're
Jerah's
using
like, let's clarify. Hold on.
Context. I want to make sure I understand.
I think maybe I understood it wrong then. I didn't know you meant like exposing clothing wise. I thought maybe exposing yourself, like putting yourself out there.
Oh no,
yeah,
sorry.
no. Okay, good.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, not like like
no.
Without titties, you won't get respect, is what you're
correct.
saying.
Yeah,
no. If you don't show that, you'll get respect, but the titties get the likes.
The titties get the likes.
We get the respect.
It's hard to get that respect because the titties are getting the likes, and it's tough because I feel like I get like when I go to like gun events, like it was kind of discouraging. Like someone's like, "Oh, like there's this, like the gun bunny in the booth will help you," and I'm like, "No, like hold on, stop." Like,
well, I think that can't be the focus. I think that some of the most respected people in the gun industry, I think some of the most respected women in the gun industry have less than 10,000 followers.
Yeah,
and I've noticed that I've been shooting for 30 years. I've seen almost a complete evolution in the gun industry, and I've noticed that when I don't want to sound vain when I say this, but I've noticed that when I'm on a panel or I come into a podcast or I sit down in a room, people listen to what I have to say. And there are women in that room that have 1 million followers, 500,000 followers, and they can't articulate their point. And so nobody wants to listen to them. They just want to look at them. So don't be discouraged. Just keep speaking. Yeah. Now, the next thing is that, in the 30 years that I've been shooting, I've seen a lot of good and a lot of bad. I'm not gonna, beat a dead horse on the bad because you guys have already spoken to those points and I've experienced that too. I've seen it get a lot better. I've seen it get a lot better. I've seen a lot of respect for women come around in the industry. We still have a lot of assumptions on the table. But I think that I want to point out the good. I think that when women started, and I want to say that this happened maybe 7 to 10 years ago, when women started really defining themselves as the new wave of gun owners. Women are the ones buying the guns. We're the ones out there buying, especially Black women, as they're the highest rising genre of gun ownership. So manufacturers started paying attention. And to me, in my opinion, there's not a lot of pieces of gear that aren't unisex. Yeah. Very, very few. Okay. So what they did that was brilliant is they said, we're just going to make the same damn gear. We're just going to make it different colors. Love that because women love colors. I personally don't care. Most of my guns are black. I don't care. But a lot of women care about that. They want the Tiffany blue gun. They want the pink gun, right? They want something that they can relate to, that like they can express themselves with. I love that. What you said about grips was awesome. And another thing that I really liked was, and I'll give you an example, when, Smith & Wesson came out with the Easy Shield. Yeah. One of the biggest things that women were dealing with was, I can't rack a slide. Well, most of that was they weren't taught properly how to rack a slide. Okay. Sure. But they still listened and said, we're going to make something that's easier for women, arthritic women, petite women with small hands. We're going to make that happen for you. Now, I want to give a small disclaimer on that. You really got to rack that slide on the Easy Shield because velocity is what sweeps that round from the magazine to the chamber at the correct angle. That slide is really light, so you really got to kind of rip it. But outside of that, it's an overall really great gun. So the bad is still there. It's just not as bad as it was. And the manufacturers are really paying attention to what women want and need. And overall, I'm happy with it.
I was about to say, some of us and some of us have carried a little longer than others as far as being here. That's not to disparage you. I'm very happy to see you on this panel. But I think in general, I think it is better than it was like in the 80s or the 90s.
By a long shot.
And I had a conversation about this with a couple of friends just like last week, and talking about some pages posting using gun bunnies to promote their product, whether it's knives or guns. And they were like, you shouldn't really be kind of telling them, you shouldn't really be working with them because it's cringe. I mean, yeah, it gets the attention, it gets the likes, but then when people really want advice on a piece of gear, on a gun, they're not going to go to them.
Yeah.
It says, they're like, you should go to these women instead because they're respected and they'll actually trust your opinion and they'll go to you for an opinion.
Yeah, I think a lot of people conflate audience with success or audience with because the analogy I'll use is how many people in the gun industry that are men are followed because they're hot.
Well, and you're right, and
big zero, right? Like a big zero.
You're right.
And I will say this. Well, Bobby, you have an example of a hot man.
A hot man.
That's followed in the gun industry only because he's hot.
Administrative results.
So admin results out here got Bobby feeling something. So the reason I'll say this is that I do think I have no problem with somebody having a big following because they are able to drive engagement. As somebody on the marketing side of things, engagement drives clicks, that drives dollars. I totally get it. But I think back to the question that we were kind of all addressing is like, but that doesn't help me get into it. I might be excited to see a girl carrying a gun that's clearly getting popular and things of that nature, but that vehicle should take me to, hey, where can I get training? What kind of equipment should it be? And like reasonable, actual practical applications of that.
Well, and the call to action really needs to be, because we need more women talking about this, because, and this kind of realms, or this kind of dives into the political, when you go to hearings, and I've testified in a lot of hearings, you see the same people making the same arguments over and over again, and they're mostly men.
Yeah.
We need women, and it's not that we don't want men helping preserve 2A, it's just the powers that be that sit in the chairs that make the laws, they need to hear a different perspective, and women have the ability to give that and make it very real and very poignant. But we need women who are committed to understanding the gun, understanding the nomenclature, being able to answer questions off the cuff, just like this. There was no preparation for this. We literally just kind of walked in here and said, this is what we're going to talk about. And the education, you have to commit yourself to being articulate about this, and not and being someone that people want, being engaging, and being somebody people want to listen to.
Yeah. I think, and this segues into a really good spot here, but we're crushing it with the segues today. I think in general, for this specific topic, and when you talk about women, they're 50% of the voting base. I would argue women probably vote more than men. But if we're advocating for these things, the one big piece of testimony that actually got concealed carry to Texas was a woman who testified who had to watch her family die at the hands of some dude that drove through a Luby's. Go Google it. It's a really powerful,
very compelling testimony. Yeah. She did a fantastic job, and then I believe she became a senator.
Yeah, so she crushed it. But you got to think that it does hit a little different when it's a woman telling you, "You're leaving me helpless." You're disarming me. You're not disarming the guy you don't like at the picket sign or the dude you don't like that talks a lot of shit on Twitter. Like you're disarming me and people like me, which is very different.
Well, and you're not just disarming me as the woman, you're disarming me as the mother.
Yep.
And if you think that women aren't more responsible for the physical protection of children than men, you're high.
Yeah.
Because the mom is with the kids more than the father is in almost every family. And now you have a very high rate of single mothers now. And so it's not just the woman, you're disarming the mother, and that's not fair.
I thought what's also interesting is there's currently bills getting passed for teachers to be able to carry. It's like if you get the training, you get whatever. What I find almost kind of like offensive about it is teaching is predominantly a female-dominated industry, right? Same thing with a lot of protected places, air quotes, protected places. Almost all of those, whether it's a hospital or whatever, these are female-dominated. You got 10 times the amount of nurses in a hospital than you will doctors. And even within those, that you'll sit there and say, well, a doctor doesn't need to have that XYZ. It's not seen as like a blue collar or whatever job. Anytime you erode that, well, they don't need guns. You don't need guns there. They couldn't possibly be able to protect.
They do not want me on a panel talking about this. I will destroy everyone.
Yeah,
I can already see it on your face.
I think I can see her getting more mad. I'm glad it's not at me because we're on the same side, but I'm just glad I don't have to sit on the other side of this as some sort of gun grabber. Kind of the last point that I'll get on this, and then we'll kind of try to wrap this up, is that it all of this kind of coalesces into, okay, what's the daily reality of actually doing this, right? Like how do you set the because there's, okay, I got my wife to like a gun, I got my wife to go shoot a match or something crazy like that. How do I get her to do EDC? Which is owning a gun, and this is most gun owners. I'm looking right at you at the camera for those of you that are watching this. Most gun owners that I know, and this is somebody that is purchased and is in possession of a firearm, do not everyday carry. Not even close.
It's true.
So, like, how do you, and I'll start with you and we'll go around because Jerah's ready and already, like, she's got one loaded in the chamber. What do you think, think's the missing step here to get most women and then just more broadly people to everyday carry?
Well, I think there's also a lot of, maybe people don't do their research or kind of think about these things really at a deep level to understand the importance of carrying every day, because they're like, oh, I can carry. I'll just decide to carry if I feel like it. So maybe one day they walk out the house with, carrying, the next day they don't. But it's not, if you make the conscious decision to carry, you need to carry every day, all the time. Like if you go to the gas station, you carry. Yeah. Because you don't get to pick and choose when something bad is going to happen, when you have to draw that gun. One day you decide not to carry, and it's like, bam, shit hits the fan. Yep. And what are you going to do? So you need to be prepared. If you make that decision, it has to be an everyday decision. It's just, and if you don't think about it, that's like you decide, oh, I don't really feel like it. But the reality is you don't know when someone's going to attack you, when something bad is going to happen, when and where. So to me, that's what made me decide to carry every single day.
So you're claiming logical fallacy and naivety is what's
I think that's
people.
one of them, and just misinformation probably. And some people have to wait until something bad happens to them to just, decide, okay, I don't want to feel useless. I'm going to start carrying. It shouldn't get to that point. And to me, it was also constant. I was training. I think I was going training every 2 weeks with an instructor. And then the more you learn, it's kind of the more you realize, or the more you train, the more you learn. Then the more you learn, you realize that you don't know. And then that's when you decide to really start on a lifelong journey of training, because you realize there's so much you don't know. And to me, that also got me into the whole logical and kind of decision. I need to train. I need to carry every day.
What about for you?
So I think it's all part of presenting them with options, and it's really that I think that part is really important. So when I started concealed carrying, I started with our GST-9, which is very similar to a Glock 19. And at first, I didn't really like it until I was carrying from behind. I carried on my hip. And then I started carrying appendix, and I was like, okay, I really like appendix, but I was carrying on the same side as my drawing hand. And I was still a little uncomfortable because I kept bumping it and it was getting annoying. And then that's when I was like, okay, well, what about 3 o'clock? So that way I have cross draw. And I feel like this is the best option. And it's very a discreet position for me as well, or I feel like it's more discreet. You're not lifting your whole arm up when you're drawing. It's more a small lift, and I will die on this hill.
Somebody call 911, but not for me.
Basically,
I'm just trying to give you my wallet. My wallet's chambered at 9mm.
I got something for you in here, But and then I transitioned to the S365, which is our it's a grip that we made for the P365. It's modular. So I put a XL slide on that with the compact grip, and it's just the holy grail for me. Like it's everything. I love it. It's and that one's just much more comfortable. So it's just part of the journey, finding what's working for you. So what works for one person isn't going to work for another. It's one size fits all. We even have a blog on our website about this, like carrying for fat men. So even like because it's a struggle.
Necessary, though.
Yeah, it is, because some people are discouraged because they're a bigger size.
There is a fat guy holster. They actually call it a fat guy holster, right?
Yeah.
See, the gun industry loves everyone.
Everybody.
Calorie happy homies.
Yes.
They got you, I guess.
Yeah. Just search for fat guy carrying on 80% arms and you'll find it.
So find you think it's just that I think the people think, oh, here's the solution, boom, I'm done. They hate it, they stop.
They get
as
discouraged.
opposed to thinking it's a journey. Like
it can get
like
discouraging.
For fat guys apparently. It's a fitness journey. It's a thing that you
Different
take. You
type of
understand it's just a different kind of fitness. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it can get discouraging. It takes so much. It took me forever to find, go through all the different holsters, positions,
Exactly.
just figuring it all out. It can get discouraging, but you stick with it, you'll find exactly like you said, like your holy grail.
You find,
and
and then from there, like I kind of just expanded my closet. Like I started incorporating like clothing items, along with it. So it's like, like a baggy or a pair of shorts. Like it looks cute. I can, choose to carry with it or not. And same thing with like my t-shirts and so on. Like you just end up, it's all part of a journey. You just end up, finding what works for you, and you just kind of like work around it, and it just becomes part of your life, and it becomes so much easier from that.
Yeah, I think a lot of women are probably, maybe what puts them off is that they think they can carry, or they have to just change the whole wardrobe to be able to carry every day, but they don't.
Yeah.
They don't realize that they don't have to at all.
Exactly.
I got that question so many times. I think that I'm right at 12,000 students under my belt over the last 16 years.
Students, yeah.
And that was a question I got all the time. And so I wrote a workshop called Preparing What You Wear. And that's all the class is going over, how do I carry in this outfit? And it's everything from jeans and t-shirts to yoga pants to dresses to, I mean, almost unless you're in a bikini, right? And even then, we're an open carry state.
I'm trying to think. I'm like,
You can if you're brave enough.
This is not a language barrier.
But I think the original question that you asked is, how do we get more women to carry every day? And there are several ways to do this. And you hit the nail on the head with, women think it's too much work. Women think they have to change their whole life. Women think they can't do it or it's too hard. Listen, you'll never hear another woman on a podcast tell you her height and weight, but I'm about to do it. I'm 5'7" and I'm 145 pounds. And I'm telling you, if I can do it, you can do it. She's smaller than me. She's about what I am, maybe a little shorter. There's no excuse for you. If we can do it, we literally possess no magical personality traits or any physical skill set that other women don't have. I've taught women how to shoot who don't even have all of their fingers. You can do this. Okay. So that the first thing is understanding that you don't have an excuse. Stop bitching about it. You can do this. You need to do this. And I think that another thing is, sometimes you just have to let people learn the hard way.
Yep.
I mean, you literally are living under a rock right now if you're not seeing all of the things in current events on the news, on social media. Women are literally getting punched in the face for no reason in New York, and they are helpless because they can't carry weapons in New York. I would literally, if I was a New Yorker right now, I would be at the steps of City Hall. I would be at the steps of the Capitol going, this is bullshit. Reverse this law. First of all, it's unconstitutional for them to be able to do that, but they've been complacent for so long that the powers that be have just gotten more powerful. So there needs to be an uprising in New York. I'm wondering if it's not going to happen sooner than later because they're really starting to get angry up there, and New Yorkers are just, scary anyway. So I think in general, there needs to be an uprising there, but sometimes we have to let people learn the hard way. But understand that if you're a woman right now and you're not paying attention, you need to be, because people, perpetrators, predators, they are banking on you to be unaware, unprepared, and unarmed. And you need to prove them wrong. You absolutely need to prove them wrong. And then the last thing that we need to do, that I think that I've done well and other female instructors have done well, is simplifying this. Okay, here's where you start. Here's when you're a sophomore. Here's when you're considered an experienced shooter and you need to go on a maintenance program, okay? And I give my students a time limit, okay? Hey, if you're going to come to me, I want you to know that I'm going to hold you accountable. And I have 4 classes. It used to be an 8-class academy that I would teach. I simplified it to 4 classes, and I was like, I want you to be done with this in 6 months. And you have homework after every class. And look, start simple. Look, Glock is a simple gun. The Rost Martin that just came out on the market that is fantastic is a simple gun. It's a great price point. Man, stick that son of a bitch in a sticky holster and wear some tight pants and get started. Okay, a sticky holster is $30. A Rost Martin is what, $400? Okay,
I think
so for $430, you can get started today.
Yeah.
Okay, and then once you get started with the simple gun, the simple holster, as your education expands and as your mind expands, you're going to want other things. You're going to start getting into the holster game, different holsters for different things. You're going to start wanting to shoot different guns and carry different size guns for different things, right? I have a SIG, little 380 SIG that I carry when I wear dresses, right? And that's literally the only reason I have it is because it's not that shitty LCP. That was the most buyer's remorse gun that ever came out on the market. It's reliable and I like it. Okay, and if you want to edit that out, you can. But that's when you expand your knowledge, you're going to learn all of these things. So just simplify it. But you've got to. The first thing that we do is we've got to cut out the excuse of I can't do it.
Yeah. I think, and ultimately, and there's a couple of these users. Shout out to these guys that kind of came through and came out, whether it's RTX, Whiskers the Cat, or Never Bird West, and a couple of really cool guys that commented the forums. But generally, what I liked about this was like 100-post thread. So we had a discussion, and by the end of it, all of us collectively were like, you know what? I really do think they have to come to that determination themselves.
They do.
But I think that they have to have examples like this more often.
Well, and that's how you know that the gun industry has changed for the better is we're on a show.
Yeah.
3 women who carry every day. She works in the industry.
Yeah.
She competes in the industry. I teach in the industry. We have all kinds of different perspectives here, and we're literally on a show talking about this. But if we could, I want to do one more question that you got here because I think it's really important, and I want her to help answer it as well. So what is this? NVR Bird West?
Yes.
I don't know. Pick a different name, dude. It's kind of weird. But he says to summarize. My wife wants to carry a gun. She's on board with our family emergency plans, which is a good thing. And this is something you should be talking about before you get married, by the way. There should be several self-defense gun questions. We're in the dating world, and I will not date a dude that is not into guns. Period. End of story. It's the first deal breaker for me. Okay. And so he's saying that she has 3 big hangups, right? She doesn't feel comfortable carrying with the level of training she has. He feels like that's a failure on his part because he needs to take her to the range and he needs to find training courses for her. Hang on, because I know what you're going to say.
Bonnie's like, whoa.
Yeah. And they have young children that climb on her, and they're probably toddlers. So she's wanting to, be safe there. And then she's pregnant, so she's in maternity clothes. So I want you to address the first part of that where he feels like a failure.
I read that. I circled it. Because I'm like, no, that's a failure on her part. Why is he responsible for that? She is like, I need to be taking her to the range more. No, she needs to go to the range more. And find training courses for her. No, she needs to find the training courses. It's like, yeah, hello.
He's not the one that's fearful.
He's not the one.
He's not the one that's growing a foot.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
That's
just her concern.
Yeah, and if it's her concern, and he's like, but he's taking it upon himself like to be the failure, but it's not. It's like it's up to us as women. I'm like, I'm not. That's the thing. A lot of women are scared to like doing it alone, and I'm like, no, fear is gonna hold you back. I'm like, what are you more scared of? Like being embarrassed in a class of like failing and like looking bad, or are you really afraid of losing your life and losing your children's life?
Yeah.
That's why I train so much because I have a kid. I want to be able to protect her no matter when and where. So failure would be on my part if I didn't go to the range as much as I do, or if I didn't train as much as I do. It's not on anyone else.
So men have to stop feeling like failures on this. If your woman shows interest, support it. But this is her responsibility.
It's hers. Yeah.
More than anything.
If something happens to your wife, it's her fault. The terrible takeaway. That's all
The point with the young kids, I can go ahead and slap that in the face really quick. I get it. You don't have a certain level of training yet where this doesn't scare you, but I promise that if you train more, this will scare you less.
Yeah.
Basically, this is what a holster is for. Don't leave your loose gun in your Narnia of a purse, and you won't have to worry about it. If it's not on you, it's not on you. That's the whole purpose of a holster, is so, especially a retention holster, is so your kids can't get it out.
They can't get it out.
So it needs to be on you. And then maternity clothes. So never been pregnant to the point that I would have to worry about this. But you could probably speak better to it. But understand that, your belly is bigger and you probably have to carry a little bit different. But I want to reiterate before I let you answer this question that you don't get to choose when somebody is going to wish violence upon you or try to kill you. So even if you're pregnant, you need to have a plan, you need to have a weapon, and you need to be proficient with that weapon, especially if you are pregnant. Because if you're not proficient with that weapon when you're pregnant, you have more likelihood to have an accident with that. As a matter of fact, one of my best friends, Monica, the only time she ever had to pull her gun was when she was pregnant. So if you're thinking about having kids, or if you're currently pregnant, what was the way that you talked about carrying earlier?
So I've been pregnant. I didn't carry while I was pregnant. I only started later after my daughter was born. But nowadays I carry up here. So, and there are actually bra holsters, and I have sorry.
It's like they're not going to be able to hear you.
I have a comfort concealment belt, which can be placed literally right up here, can be placed anywhere on your, further down, but I move it up here, and you can carry right up here, and you can still access your gun and draw while you're pregnant.
Absolutely.
Another way would be right here, so like at 3 o'clock.
At 3 o'clock.
Yeah. So there are ways.
Cross draw.
Or cross draw. I don't know. While you're pregnant.
Chelsea's about to be like,
3 o'clock is going to work really well if you are worried about the muzzle being pointed at your belly. But understand that, especially guns that are out on the market recently, that wouldn't be a concern for me because they're well made.
Sure.
There's several safety mechanisms that are in there: drop safeties, external safeties, internal safeties. So I really wouldn't let that bother you. But if it is still a problem for you, 3 o'clock is going to be the best way for you to carry while pregnant, and train before you get pregnant. If you want to be a mom, you train, because I'm telling you right now, if you are a mom and you are not physically able, or you've had no training at all to physically protect your kids, I think that you're kind of a bad mom. I'm just going to say it, because there's a responsibility there that you're not taking heed of.
God forbid anything happened to her, and it's like, at least I know I'm doing something to be able to protect her and save us from any harm. But if I never even care to do anything to that, I don't know.
This brings us to our next point. Penrod72 answered a really interesting question, and I'll summarize once again. He has a daughter that's coming into being 21, and she's wanting to get into concealed carry. But again, he's dad and probably not the best teacher, and there's not a ton of solutions for her. Specifically, she's wanting to go into nursing. And so she's going to be carrying in a non-permissive environment, which hospitals, regardless of how based your state is always going to be a non-permissible environment. What would be your suggestions? I'll start here and then rotate over. What would be your suggestions for getting into everyday carry or getting into concealed carry with some level of firearms training? And then what would be your suggestions for trying to carry on the body for someone in that circumstances?
Well, I see on the question here, it does talk about carry methods, concealed carry, as well as off-body storage or off-body carry, maybe.
Yeah.
But, and that's in my EDC journey, I made a lot of mistakes at the beginning too. So belly bands, which without a trigger guard, or purse carry. So one of the things about purse carry, if it's off-body, it's women. We go to restaurants, wherever, go to work, we put the purse down, and then maybe we get up and go to the restroom, and we leave it there.
Yeah.
So that's a no-no. So you can't do that. If you decide to purse carry, there are situations where you have to, but if you decide to purse carry, that purse has to go with you everywhere you go. And
Not to mention, it also takes up a lot of time to get a hold of your purse in a situation, and you have to unzip it, and then you have to try to find it.
And it's easy to snatch off of you too. And you can just snatch it the amount of time that happens.
I have a class called the What If Scenarios, and I do that in that class.
You snatch purses?
And
I mean,
not only do I
my
snatch
purse, I
purses,
don't
but I
know
put them in scenarios where they would have to draw from the purse. And thousands of students have taken that class, and not one woman has ever drawn before I've killed her.
Nice.
So there's time and place for purse carry, but we'll get to that later. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, belly band was another option that I started at first, but I'm like, there's no trigger guard, and it's so easy. Even if you have children, you don't have to put your hand and your finger inside the belly band. You can actually pull the trigger from outside the belly band. So anything that gets stuck, so that's a no. Unless I do sometimes carry like on my thigh, but I add a trigger guard, so there's safety there. And so that's an option. Other options, of course, anywhere, even if I carry off-body in a sling bag, I have a Kydex holster in there. So always add that extra layer of security to the trigger. If you have to carry in unconventional ways, which I do carry in unconventional ways, but trigger guard has to be there. And most importantly, you have to train. Whichever way you carry, you have to train.
Yeah,
Train.
Getting reps on that style of carry is
Not
important.
just reps off the range, but on the range. That's why I go to the range too in dresses, if I decide to carry that way, and I practice drawing from a dress, a skirt, under a crop top, and I just, get shots on target on there. But those are some ways she's getting 21. There are different methods. As long as you stay safe, you can try different things. Like I said, off body, like I said, and you teach. And there's proof right there. She's teaching it how, they can't even draw a gun from their purse before she actually kills them.
It's a terrible way to carry in general. It really is.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But that's a different podcast.
That's a whole podcast.
Okay.
Suggestions.
So I started to conceal carry around the same age. The first gun that I had began to carry or started my journey with was the GST-9. That was one that I actually had to build myself. So it really got me into firearms. It's also the gun that, the company I work for, 80% Arms, makes.
Not biased at all.
Not, funny about that, I actually am not a big Glock fan. And the GST-9 is built on a very similar platform to Glock, but the grip angle is like that of like a 1911, and it also has a nice palm spell. So it just feels so much more comfortable in my hand.
I'll buy that.
I'm like,
I actually I brought one with me because I decided to bring like my EDC journey.
We'll give you guys a demo here in a second.
Yeah. So and that also it's modular, so it allowed me to play with it. So you can do like a 19X or like a 19L and all these other things. It's a crazy gun. Love it. We actually have it on our website, by the way. Just plugging it in real quick.
Based plug.
We started selling it as 100%, so it's completed with the LPK. The lower parts get pre-installed.
So do you think it would make more sense to sit there and say like, you need to have time to actually swim in that journey of saying, this is actually what I want to carry?
This is actually what I
do. Yeah.
Yes. And so when I was 21 years old and I was getting introduced and I was learning about our GST-9, it really turned me on as a this is a perfect like concealed carry, just because like the 19 similar grip length, it was like it felt really nice in my waistband. And I had an LAS concealment holster, and I remember just like falling in love with it. I was like, wow, this is great. And I started to appendix carry. And that's when I started my, do I want to carry, 3 o'clock position, or do I want to cross draw and put an appendix on the
I'm going to
opposite
make
side?
you cross draw. I will.
We have to see it.
No.
This is now happening.
But-
Jerah's going to judge you. It's fine.
You're going to judge me so hard. It's not true.
I love you.
Oh, love you too.
It's true. Well, this is a really good question, and first of all, I love it because she's young and she's looking out for her future. She's looking out for herself. So I love the mindset here. Tells me that she's mature and that she's responsible. So I'm going to break this down really quick. She grew up hunting mostly long guns. But it also says at the end here that she's likely going to be a nurse in a hospital. And that's to be taken into consideration as well. So I would say for lethal carry, start simple. Get something simple like a Rost Martin. Get that sticky holster. You're in it for less than $500. and learn that way first. The sticky holster doesn't get nearly as much credence as it should. I've been carrying with a sticky for 9 years. It's got a great draw.
I think too, it's what's going to get you to do it every day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
I would
so
almost
easy.
rather take a crappier setup that eventually I'll grow out of.
Yeah.
But that one that convinced, because most of the holsters, and I had a bunch of terrible ones without disparaging anybody, but a lot of bad ones before I ended up getting to
Yeah.
like full on Kydex. But
Well,
yeah.
and plus the sticky is an easy sleeve that you can use in the car. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
in your console, it's a sleeve that goes over the trigger, super easy. It's got a rubberized coating that doesn't slide on skin or fabric. So if your pants have any kind of compression, it's really easy. If you need to transition the gun, it's very safe and easy to do so. So if you're carrying groceries in this hand and you need to move the gun from, the middle of your appendix area to 3 o'clock, it's very easy for you just to slide that gun over very safely. Now, the other thing here is you're in a hospital. You want to stay safe in the hospital. So you're going to have to go with a non-lethal option at that point, because you're going to catch a case.
Dude.
Probably if you get caught with a gun in the hospital. Plus, what you're going to be wearing is not going to be conducive for you to necessarily be carrying a gun unless it's in a belly band with this trigger guard that you were talking about. So you're going to be wearing scrubs. So what I would do is I would look at something like a pepper gel gun, not pepper spray, pepper gel, because it has density and trajectory. So Walther makes a good one. Kimber makes a good one. You can get these on Amazon. And then there's this new thing out on the market, and I haven't tested it yet, so I'm not necessarily recommending it. I'm just saying look into it, the Berna. So you could do a Berna in a belly band. A Berna is basically a gun with a CO2 cartridge that shoots out 60 caliber rubber bullets that are coated in OC powder.
I'll let Bobby get shot with that.
And it's really, really cool. I like I said, I haven't tried it yet, so I'm going to do a review on it because I just ordered one. But she's going to need to look into some non-lethal options. So the first things that I would invest in are, for her scrubs, she basically one of her only options is probably going to be a belly band,
In that case,
or
yeah.
some kind of bra holster.
Or like the comfort concealment belt that I have.
Yeah,
that
or the
works
comfort
perfect. It
concealment
stays really put. You can move
Yeah, for
it.
those loose
You can
clothing.
move it. For the loose clothing.
So she'll have an on-the-body carry for this cool Berna thing,
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah,
that.
and the holster's versatile. So
what
they can use.
what would you do about the gun being in the car?
So-
How would you secure that?
Yeah, so technology is our friend.
Yeah.
So we have all kinds of safes on the market now that can be customized to whatever vehicle you have, that have locking mechanisms that you can double secure your gun. And then you're definitely going to want, I personally, I have a Voltec, I have a left pod, in my car. But you can, like I said, you can get these customizable, and then you want to make that transition as soon as possible. Like before you drive away from the hospital, you want to make that transition. If it's me, I'm making the transition from non-lethal to lethal carry
Right then and there.
pretty immediately. So you have to understand, to your point with the purse carry, if it's not on you, it's not on you.
and
that's just the deal.
walking in a parking lot too. It's like, what if it's in your purse? Something happens.
Yeah,
Or
if
what
you're
if
walking
it's
through the
like-
parking
yeah.
garage, because you're having that non-lethal option as you traverse from hospital to car, whether that be through a parking lot,
I was
parking
gonna
garage.
say, it's like the worst.
So make sure
Yeah.
that there's nothing wrong with you just kind of having your hand on it as you're walking, because that shaves off that half second or second that it's going to take for you to get from him to chin. To kind of get that weapon, whether it be lethal or non-lethal, out. So, and then as soon as you get to your car, transition from non-lethal to lethal. And listen, I travel all over the country and teach. Like there are people in Stanley, Idaho, that put together a group for me to come and teach. So I will come and teach anywhere. So I don't know where this person lives, but I mean, if you want me to work with your daughter,
Shout
let's
out.
schedule it out.
Yeah.
Another non-lethal option would be a wooden spoon. You
To you?
could keep it under your scrubs.
Hey, I've been hurt a lot by.
Well, and everyone should carry a knife. Like
And
if she's
I
in a
always carry a
hospital,
knife, yeah.
I always encourage women to get a switchblade and make sure, go to the store, go to the place that you're going to buy it and try it first, and make sure that you can deploy it with just your thumb
Yeah.
and that it's relatively easy to do so. And there's nothing that I've ever seen that says you can't carry a knife in your
Let us
scrubs.
know in the
that-
comment section.
And that's a good point, because in fact, the combatives class I just took on the weekend showed the importance of having that knife on you as on your support side. If you carry your gun right here, but like she's in a hospital, but have a knife, because that made some of the fights, like whether you win them or lose them, or having that knife on
Your
you.
pepper spray doesn't work. Whatever.
Yeah,
have
something
that.
It's as close to a
malfunctions.
little-
ER doctors and ER nurses are some of the most abused people
Can confirm.
in workplace violence, and you kind of have to be ready for that. And I'm sorry, like if you come at me like that and I'm trying to take care of you, I'm slash you up. That's all there is to
Be
it.
careful if somehow in some magical universe Jerah's in a set of scrubs and you're
know?
feeling like you're going to
You better not pop off.
She's got that knife in there somewhere.
ready to go.
I think that's good. I think.
But I mean, there's several options there, you know, and she just kind of has to get in the habit of the lethal to non-lethal transition,
yeah.
and it's just going to take reps.
And ultimately, the onus of your protection is your own. Sovereignty lies at
Yeah.
the feet of the individual that's willing to guarantee it. If you can
Yes.
guarantee it for yourself, I think you're doing way better.
And that's why you should quit letting your husband load your magazines at the range. You need to do that shit yourself.
You heard it here, bro. But Jerah's over here stirring the pot, man. So if you like this discussion and would like to hear us talk about more, I can be, hopefully these ladies will be available for future panels. We'll talk about other lady-related things, but also firearms-related things, that there's enough here to kill me easily. Depending on what this, I need a rifle really far away, and maybe I stand a chance. Maybe not against you. That'd be if you had a handgun and I had a rifle.
Correction, by the way, I don't do competition. I train. I do take a lot of classes, combatives classes,
Yeah.
but I haven't done competition.
So we'll do an arm wrestling competition, and I'll be fine.
Maybe that,
But anyways, I want to thank you all for being here. We will go ahead and append a way to contact you guys, or at least check out the stuff that they're doing. If you want to be like, look, woman. There's a woman totally crushing it and kicking ass and carrying guns. Here's some examples of that stuff. I will probably have a comment section to this. If you have questions for this panel, they will be able to see that comment section and maybe address these things specifically. So you can be like, Jerah, Chelsea, Bonnie, what about this? Or what about what you said? Or you want to complain about big failures and stuff? Go light it up.
Yeah, and also if anyone has, if there are women out there or men out there that want to try and get their women to carry and train, all of us have resources.
Yep.
So reach out.
I'll call your wife.
Yeah,
There it
that
is.
too.
I got no problem calling your wife.
So, you guys, if you want someone to call your wife and things of that
Just-
nature, go ahead and hit us up. Put it in the comment section below. If you want to see more content like this, we can facilitate that. We can't know unless you put it there. But more than anything, support the people that are supporting not just your constitutional rights, but the constitutional rights of the women in your life. Because without those individuals and without those companies, we wouldn't be the sovereign free people that we are. Go ahead and do that and stay dangerous, ladies.